What's the most hostile or intense crowd you've ever experienced when calling a game, CC?
Oh, intense. I've kind of got a tie for the lead now. I used to think there was never going to be anything like the Bell Center, but the last couple of playoff runs in Edmonton, the atmosphere there is unbelievable, and so I put those two at the top.
Chris, the return of Mitch Marner, which we're probably talking about Marner too much, but it's something to look forward to when the schedule drops, and it's kind of buried on a Friday in the middle of January, kind of out of sight, out of mind. Do you think that the Leafs fans just think the world revolves around them, or do you think the NHL kind of dropped the ball with that opportunity?
Well, I heard you guys talking about it, and I was thinking, here's three guys on this podcast who all probably started the essays the night before they were due. I mean, the schedule is a huge thing, and Mitch Marner didn't become a Vegas Golden Knight till the end of June. I'm pretty sure that schedule was almost written in etched in stone by the time Marner becomes a Vegas Golden Knight. With that said, of course, we'd want
Good
him on a
point.
Saturday night, and that's not going to happen. It does raise these conspiracy theories, though, that both times they play the Leafs, it's a second game of back-to-backs, and that's not media friendly. It's probably Mitch Marner friendly. So maybe there's a little bit of both going on.
Hey, I'll just put out there, we had Bruce Cassidy on the show last week, and he was hinting at one sort of idea that he saw in the schedule that suggested Marner's return was coming early in the season. Now it comes in January. So obviously they deviated from that schedule. But what do you anticipate the atmosphere being like for that game?
You know, I'm really torn about this. I mean, watching over the years, great players leaving the Leafs. Most of them didn't leave because they wanted to go. I remember being absolutely crushed as a kid when Lanny McDonald got traded. Heck, I'll go back. I remember the day they traded Frank Mahovlich, and I'm a little kid then, and I'm thinking this just isn't right. But I was trying to think. Curtis Joseph and Mitch Marner are probably the highest profile Leafs who went because they wanted to go, and so I don't know how much that's going to factor in. I sometimes it's dangerous to try and assume what the crowd's going to be, because the crowd, that mob mentality takes on its own life, and if it starts out friendly, it could be very friendly. If it starts out John Tavares going to the Islander, it could end up being like that. I don't expect that, but it's going to be really interesting because I don't have a real gauge on what to expect.
Yeah, and Chris, how about just the team in general? It's been a little bit of a quiet off season as far as acquiring new players and filling that Mitch Marner hole. There's some new guys that are coming in that are kind of exciting, though. Do you think this team, as it sits, is? Do you think they've taken a big step back? Do you think they're just as good? Do you think they have a chance to be better? Where do you think they sit now that they've made some of these changes?
Yeah, without Marner, I can't say that they're as good or better, but it's still a work in progress. And when was the last time we talked about the Leafs with cap room? So that's interesting. The problem with cap room is you can go out and acquire somebody big. It has to be now via trade, and so who you giving up? That's the thing I keep rolling through my head. The guys everybody wants are Easton Cowan and Ben Danford, and I don't see that. I was one of those guys that said under no circumstances can you give up Matthew Nyes in a deal, and man, that's one of the rare times where I actually look pretty smart. So and that's a couple years back now, and nobody's talking about giving up Nyes now. But do you give up Cowan and go for it? I hesitate on that. So does this cap room? Does a guy fall in the lap of the Leafs who another team's got to move out because they are in cap jail? I don't know, but the team we're looking at right now is not clearly as good, but it is going to get better, I think. I think everybody's sleeping on Easton Cowan, and I hope I'm just not dreaming in Technicolor, he had a tremendous camp 2 years ago when it was too early. Last year, we had all these expectations, and he had a terrible camp, but he went back, he went to work, he had an amazing season in junior. Clearly, he's not ready to be a core four guy, but I think under the right circumstances, he might be able to be a piece in this puzzle that. And I don't think the Leafs want to talk about it too much because they don't want to put too much pressure on the kid too soon. But every time I look at a Leaf roster that doesn't have Easton Cowan, I'm wondering why he's getting left out, because I think he's a guy that could make a difference.
It really is a fascinating conversation because you even see it right now to an extent with Edmonton. Like they pick up Ike Howard and right away he's on that top line with McDavid, has yet to play a game in the NHL. Like they expect Matt Savoy to have a big year. You almost need to infiltrate your roster, at least we think, to have the right balance on your roster with younger players. And I think the way things situate right now, CC, I think they're going to give Easton Cowan every shot in the world to crack this roster. And ultimately it's going to be up to him, right?
It is. I'm kind of curious at what spot in the roster do you go right up with Matthews and Nyes? Do you have him with Tavares and Nylander on a second line? Do you think maybe he's in that Nick Robertson spot on a line that we saw last year on the third line with McMahon and Domi? Although, all the pieces are in play. Domi could be on the first line. Nylander could be on the first line. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see in the preseason where he starts out. And obviously that's not going to necessarily be where he finishes, but what place in the lineup do they think they could give him a taste and see if he can grab it? I mean, we know in Montreal, and I'm not saying he's going to be in a Calder Trophy race with Demidov, but in Montreal, Demidov's going to be on one of those top two lines right away. I mean, we've already seen that he's probably NHL ready. We don't know if Easton Cowan's NHL ready, but where do you put him in the lineup to test him? Because if he's in the bottom six, are you really going to get, what Easton Cowan eventually is going to bring to the table? You're going to get that on the third or fourth line, maybe the third line. But so I'm curious to see how they go about that.
Aside from Cowan, is there a player that is in your mind standing out as someone that you think could take a big leap this year or that needs to take a big leap? Is there a name that you think needs to take a step forward with this team and start doing some things?
Well, I've got a few names I'm looking at. I mean, in-house for sure. I want to see the Bobby McMahon that we saw for 2/3 of the season last year. Can Bobby McMahon be a 25 goal scorer? He scored 20 and then just went cold at the end. I went down to watch a little bit of the development camp, and on a separate pad, they had Bobby McMahon working with Marshall Rafai, just those two guys. And I was thinking, man, those are two guys that we should probably file away as guys that the Leafs want to raise their stock. I mean, maybe Rafai doesn't fit in right away, but McMahon certainly, they'd like to see him take another step. I think, Nick Waugh is not Mitch Marner, and that's obvious. But Nick Waugh helps you win playoff games. Nick Waugh helped the team win a Stanley Cup. I think Nick Waugh is a perfect third-line center for this team. And so he's a guy I'm interested in, and I am interested in Michelli. And again, Matias Michelli is not Mitch Marner. But he's a guy who scored 20. He has had 50 points early in his career. He almost was a finalist for the Calder. I think he's a really talented guy that everything that could go wrong went wrong for him, but is a guy that can turn it around. And that's another guy. You probably have to try and shoehorn him into your top six to really get the most out of him. And so he's competing with Cowan for one of those spots in all likelihood. So, there's guys that I'm watching for sure because I think we know a lot about the rest of the crew. And I guess one more guy would be Morgan Riley, but he's got to be on the power play again unless they make a move, because Mitch Marner is not your power play point man anymore. So can we get the playoff Morgan Riley that we saw last year in the opening round? Those are a short list, and in Toronto, we're watching everybody, obviously, but those are guys that I'll be watching.
Also watching outside the division, be honest, are you tired of calling Florida Panthers Stanley Cup victories? Is anybody even in that realm right now? Like, they come back with exactly the same team. They have to be the team to beat again, right?
I better not get tired of it, because we're looking straight down the gun barrel at it again. I mean, that's it's going to be a tough team to beat. And every time you're thinking of what team's ready to take this down. I don't have anybody in that discussion yet. I mean, lots could change, and there's rumors that Matthew Tkachuk may have to go back and get surgery, and how long is he going to be out and everything else. But Marchand and Jones made huge differences, and I'll go back to the Leafs again, because you talked about salary cap room, and the Panthers manufactured some room, but they took advantage of it with Seth Jones. Nobody wanted to take a chance on Seth Jones. But it turned out to be an enormous move for Bill Zito, who had inside information. He had him in Columbus. He knew what made Seth Jones tick. But 6 months ago, if you said Seth Jones might put a team over the top, you would have been laughed at. So who's out there that's like Seth Jones that maybe needs a new lease on life for any team? It'd be interesting to see. So, but right now, Florida, long story longer, Panthers are clearly the team to beat.
An absolute juggernaut, and always seem to be one step ahead. Thank you so much for taking some time here in your summer, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk to you in the fall, okay?
Hey, boys, you can take time off, too. It is the summer, but enjoy being with you. Thanks.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.